I'm Richard,
I'm Cartoonist Will.
and together we're the
Irreverent
Irreverent
Nerds.
Nerds. Hey, nerds. So, welcome to a special edition of the Irreverent Nerd podcast. We have two guests tonight, actually. My daughter is here because my wife asked me to hold her. So, if you hear some noise off to the side here, it's not me. I'm not a ventriloquist. It's my daughter. And we have a special guest with us, Will's longtime friend, Dan Johnson. And I am going to let Will introduce his friend and tell us a bit about him and what we're going to talk about today.
Well, I've known Dan Johnson for, I don't know how long we've known each other, 2007? I can't remember, but I've known Dan Johnson maybe 2009. For a long time now. He's a comics writer and a pop culture historian. He's written a lot of different stuff. He's written some gags for Dennis the Menace. He's written at least one story for Mark's Trail. He's written, I have some of his trade paperbacks and a manga here that he's written. He writes for Back Issue Magazine. Did you say Scary Monster?
Magazine? Scary Monsters Magazine, yeah.
Right. I just wanted to make sure I got the name right. He's been the editor of a lot of different small-time publishing companies. Charlton Neo was an assistant editor. Empire Comics Lab. And what is your exact title? I just assumed you're editor. But I'm doing some work for Dan at Redline Comic Studio as well.
Technically, editor and head writer and cat wrangler. I'm the one that handles the artists and everybody together. So, yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
I'm the guy that knocks on your door and says, "Is it done? Is it done? Is it done?" That's me.
Not done, Dan.
We'll attest. I'm a hard
nicest boss I've ever had.
I know.
Other people would have fired me. No. But I've done a lot of work. Dan and I have done a lot of work together over the years. Not nearly as much as I'm sure we would have hoped, but we try together. I mean, Dan is very prolific. So, should we get into the interview questions, or what should we do now?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just wanted to comment on the weirdness of the situation. So we tried several different audio setups, and this is the only one that would work properly with Zoom.
Yeah, I forgot people.
So, yeah. So yeah, it's not just that Will and I wanted to get close. We do, but it's so. But I thought that was kind of funny because, we're going to be talking a lot about indie comics or independent comics, or would alternative comics be another potential term, or is indie the official, independent?
I go with just comics, and I don't make a distinction. There is comics.
There you go. I guess by independent, it would just mean it's not DC, it's not Marvel, it's not Dark Horse, your big time that a lot of people know about. It's your lesser known or your local or. And part of what we're going to talk about with Dan tonight is we're going to give him a chance to make a case, why should people read these, as opposed to DC, not necessarily in place of DC and Marvel, but why should you expand your horizons as a comic book reader beyond just superhero comics, beyond just DC, Marvel. So that's one topic we're going to hit on tonight. But first, Dan, I thought you could just tell us a bit about how your love for comics started.
Well, it's been a lifelong love. I bought my first comic books when I was 7 years old. I still remember them. They were Superman Family number 188, Super Team Family number 15, and the 1977 Fantastic Four Annual. And after I picked those comic books up, I was infatuated. I read through those books in one afternoon, and I started realizing, I'd always loved superheroes. I've been a big fan of the Batman TV series, Adam West, Super Friends, the Spider-Man cartoons that were out in the 60s. They were rerunning them on our local television station. And I'd always loved superheroes, and I found the comic books, and this was great because this is something I could read anytime I wanted to. I didn't have to wait for it to come on television. And at some point, I started realizing, someone got paid to do this. Someone got paid to write these stories. Somebody got paid to draw these stories. And I thought that's the only career I ever wanted. From that point on, I initially started out wanting to be an artist and found that I didn't quite have the technical skills for it. But I did find I could write very well. And doing my own comic books as a kid, I learned the value of layout, of doing, knowing how important it is to do a page and how it should look in my mind, and presenting that to the artist. And that it is something that I always tell people: if you want to write, you need to learn the medium, because being a writer for like short stories or prose or novels, script writing for film or television, or even doing a comic book, is a totally different animal. You have to know how each one is going to be presented, and you have to learn to be able to each one properly, because there are comic book writers I know that cannot do prose fiction and they can't do scripts. But I also know script writers that can't do comic book scripts to save their lives. So you have to learn to be able to go back and forth between those, and it is a totally different skill set. But no, like I said, with me, I fell in love with comic books since I was a kid. And if you ask me when I was 7 years old, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said I want to make comic books. If you ask me now at 52, I'm going to tell you I want to make comic books. That's the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
That's really cool.
I did want to marry Jacqueline Smith at one point. I'm not giving up on that yet, but I'm trying to go for realistic. So, if by the way she actually sees this, I hope you got the flowers. By all means, please take me up on the invitation. I'm sincere. I'm not just, I got the letter from the lawyer. I understand, and I'm cool with it and everything. I'm staying away, but I'm just saying, give me a shot. I'm just saying. Go to McDonald's with me and get the full. I'll get you the supersized meal. I promise.
Hey, you never know. Like, according to Anchor, we have at least 63 unique listeners in the past week. So, as we're ramping up, hey, you never know.
It's better than the first date my dad took my mom on. He just took her to the gas station and had hot dogs.
Oh, man.
Will can also tell you that I don't have a serious bone in my body. So if if you came here for serious discussion, you're going to get that, but you're also going to get some bad jokes and some bad puns. So I'm warned. So strap in tight.
That's right. And we do, but any serious we have here is always with a dash of irreverence, hence our name. So there's got to be a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of satire in there. I mean, we both love The Simpsons, so I mean, come on. So
yeah.
I trusted him.
Yeah, he did. He introduced me to The Simpsons. I did not watch it growing up. My parents were kind of conservative and didn't let me watch The Simpsons growing up, which might have been a good thing. I don't know. Hard to say, but I got into it.
The scary thing is, I was watching Simpsons by that time. My parents, my father had already passed away, and my mom didn't care what I watched. I mean, I was in college, so I'm like, wow, okay, you guys are young, but that's all right. That's okay. That's cool.
Oh yeah, I think it was the Simpsons movie. It was actually the first Simpsons I saw. Like, you got me into that, and then I got hooked for a while there, and went on like a year or so binge.
That was an interesting first interaction with The Simpsons.
Yeah, like I would rent back when video stores still existed. I would rent a whole season from a video store and watch it like all the way through in like 5 days. So yeah.
The early stuff especially is up until the point they lost Phil Hartman. I think that is like some of the best animated stuff you're going to find out there.
Yeah, and I think after the movie, didn't they go digital? Like
the
like
movie
digital
was
art,
the first digital at least.
Like, I mean, obviously still hand drawn, but on a computer instead of. At least it seemed that way. Like after the movie, like
yeah.
So you could definitely tell the difference between the seasons there.
Now, I've got questions for you, Dan, but I'm not sure exactly what point of the interview I should ask them.
No problem. Well, like I said, whatever you guys want to know, just fire away. I'm here to answer questions.
Well, you go ahead with your first one.
Nothing's off the table.
Well, I guess things don't have to be in any sort of chronological order. Now, obviously, with the pandemic, me and you, we haven't really been able to catch up that much in a few years. Haven't been able to hang out. So we're doing Redline Comic Studio now. Well, That is terrible. Zoom
Oh
just told us
no.
that they were going to cut us off in 10 minutes because we need to upgrade.
Oh man.
I guess we
I
better
don't.
hurry.
That sucks. I don't have Zoom Pro,
Okay, Dan.
so we might have to do the audio version.
Yeah. Well, should we just give Dan the floor and let him tell us his entire life career in 10 minutes, or what should we do?
Oh dang. So this sucks. I'm sorry, Dan. Yeah, this is our first time trying a long Zoom recording, so
Oh, no
I
problem, man. That's cool.
did not realize that would happen. We might have to restart as audio. Okay.
Can you guys edit it together, or just like edit it together and post, or?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we could.
Possibly, we'd probably have to start a new meeting for each 20-minute segment.
Oh, yeah.
That could be fun. You guys like part 1, part 2, part 3. That's cool. I like that.
I guess we could try. We'll have to edit this part out, obviously.
Leave it in. I like it.
No, it's true. We do leave in some kind of fun stuff, just like. Well, I guess we'll keep talking for now until the we got 8 minutes and 30 seconds left.
Well, Dan, when and what was your first writing job for comics?
First writing job. Actually, that would have been probably first one I was hired for. That would be Herc Thor. That was the first one I was hired for.
Cool. And I've got this right here, by the way, for everybody watching, Herc Thor.
Yes.
One of my personal favorites, definitely.
What happened is that I was working for, I sold some articles to Comic Book Marketplace, which unfortunately is a magazine that's gone under since then. I submitted articles to them, and about a year after I submitted some stuff, I got a letter from one of their editors saying, such and such article, it was an article about the Archie television pilot. It was made in the 60s. And they're like, okay, we cleared this for this issue coming up and everything, but we need to check on billing address and all, and why hasn't so-and-so gotten in touch with you? And I was like, first of all, I didn't realize you guys were publishing it. Second of all, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Third of all, does it pay? They were like, yeah, we're going to pay you something for it. We need to get some information. So I talked to them about that. And after it was published, I asked them, well, are you guys looking for other articles? And they're like, yeah, we're always looking for new writers. If you want to do interviews, by all means, look for interviews, look for some articles. And so I ended up doing several pieces for them. And at the time, I was basically looking for any writing jobs I could. I was looking for comic book writing jobs. And I ended up contacting Rob Espinoza at Antarctic Press. And I had sent him some stuff for Antarctic Press. I was looking for stuff. And they were like, well, we don't have anything at this time. We're not looking for writers. And most people would have been like, well, you know what? Forget you. I'm out of here. I'm never going to talk to you guys again. You guys can't do anything for me. But I came back and I said, well, look, I'm working for Comic Book Marketplace. If you guys have anything you want to pitch, let me know. Maybe I can do an article about it. I'll make some money to get you guys some publicity. We'll see what we can do. And they were like, cool, we'll do that. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Rod saying, actually, now that I think about it, we do have something. We need
Awesome.
We need a writer for it. And would you be willing to look at it? And I said, sure. So they sent me a 1-page outline for Herc Thor. And they basically said, we need you to hit this beat, and this beat. Everything else you make up as you go along. So I said, cool. And I ended up doing it, and just had a blast having fun with it, because I was a big fan of the Mighty Thor from Marvel Comics, and I thought, what if we turned it around? Instead of Thor being the straight man and Hercules being the comic relief, what if we made Thor the comic relief, made Hercules the straight man?
I like it.
And I said I had fun with it. And like I said, I wrote a sequel to it and I pitched it to them, but unfortunately they never took me up on it. I'd still love to do it though, because I love the characters.
I do too. And for those at home, I just found out before this recording, I didn't even know that sequel existed. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Herc Thor 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Is it
Yeah.
Is it in manga style right to left, or is it just left to right?
It's in manga style, but it's left to right.
Left to right. Okay.
Yeah.
but it's like kind of similar size to your normal, and it's black and white. Yeah, it looks really cool. Like
You'd be reading it from the back cover if it was
yeah, that's true.
Japanese.
It's true.
Is there a Japanese translation there?
Unfortunately, no. There's no Japanese translation, unfortunately, which is sad.
What?
I'd love to see if they did.
No, it's Nani.
Oh, that's cool.
But that was the first job I had, and along the way with working for Comic Marketplace, I got Back Issue Magazine, which is edited by Michael Urey, who's worked for DC Comics and Dark Horse. Michael inherited Ambush Bug from Julie Schwartz.
Really?
He was the last editor on Ambush Bug.
Okay. Well, when you say he inherited it, what do you mean? He inherited the editor job, or what did he inherit on Ambush Bug?
Oh, he inherited the job. When Julie Schwartz retired,
Okay.
they needed somebody to work with Keith Giffen, and apparently Michael was out of the room at the time when they suggested that, so he got the job.
Did you want the job?
Keith Giffen, if you guys don't know who he is like
I met Michael once, and I'm sorry I didn't know how prolific he was at the time. I just knew that he was behind Back Issue. Unfortunately, that's all I knew.
Michael is one of those guys that when you meet him, he has got such an amazing career in comics, and he has done so much in terms of pop culture. Besides Back Issue, he does Retro Fan Magazine, which I've also written for. He's written several books for Tomorrows, and the great thing about Michael is that when you talk to him, he has no ego about him at all. He's just like the most down-to-earth type of guy you could ever want to meet, and he's always more interested in finding out what you're doing as opposed to bragging about what he's doing.
Oh, that's cool.
And like I said, he's just like the best editor you could ever have to work for. He's
Great.
just super nice.
No, that's not true, Dan. You're the best editor.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I learned from Michael. Michael taught me
My only editor.
how to be a good editor. So,
Well, that's not true. I guess Dave knows my editor indelible, but it's not about me. So I'm just.
That's okay.
Yeah, I guess that'd be a follow-up question. At what point did you start dipping your toes in the river of editing, if you will?
Yeah.
that would have probably been, I think, when I do my own stuff, I always like to go back and edit through at least once or twice. My golden rule is when I write something, I like to sit on it for about 3 or 4 days and then come back and look at it again before submitting it. I know some writers will send the first draft in, and that's never a good idea. Even if you're Alan Moore, I would never recommend you sending a first draft in, because trust me, there's some stuff in there you want to change.
Oh yeah,
editors will catch it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've cut mistakes even in like mainstream novels and such. I was like, oh, they missed that one.
Yeah. But the thing was, I wanted to do that for myself because, like I said, I learned to edit my own stuff, and then I had friends that wanted to, I'd give advice to. And the first opportunity I had to really sit down and do editing on a comic book was Cemetery Plots with Empire Comics Lab. The comic, Empire Comics Lab. It's an interesting story behind that because we had a friend of ours on Facebook that basically posted saying, I hear everybody griping and complaining about you can't get published or you can't make comic books. It's like, why can't you do it yourself? And he threw down the gauntlet and said, why don't you guys go out there and make comic books? And Empire Comics Lab was born of that because we had a bunch of guys that were sitting around going, we want to do comic books. We want to make comics. They got the right idea. And everybody's looking at each other going, how do you do it? Where do you start? And I pitched the idea of doing Cemetery Plots because I said, well, horror is always a good genre to look at. Horror always sells. Horror is something that people will buy. You're always going to find an audience for it. But also because you can do horror in black and white. At the time, everybody was obsessed about, can you do color? Can we do it in color? What how much is it going to cost? I said, if we do it in black and white, it's going to be fine because black and white lends itself to the horror genre.
Apologies here, Dan. We're running out of time on this.
I was going to ask how you're
20-minute limit here, so I'm going to end this and then we'll come back and restart here in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
Thanks.
No problem, man.
Today's episode of the Irreverent Nerd Podcast has been brought to you by Duff Beer. Don't just sit on your duff. Get in the bar and drink some beer. That means you too, Homer.
And we're back, and we look different because you didn't know we were on a boat in the Bermuda Triangle recording that first segment, and the second segment was lost. Dan can tell you, though, what we talked about probably should have been lost. Wouldn't you say so, Dan?
Well, I was going to say, I actually have got my answer prepared for what we were discussing, and I'm prepared to share it with it. Now we can recap if you want.
Okay, yeah.
But these are the answers I had. It was yes, maybe, possibly. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, you did not just say that. Are you freaking kidding me? You guys are talking about that of all things? Are you kidding me? Good Lord Almighty. What the heck are you thinking? I don't know why I decided to come on this thing. I do not understand how you talked me into this. Okay,
it's all Will's fault.
Now you explain your point. I understand what you're trying to say, and I may have overreacted a little bit, and I see your point. I concede that you are correct, sir. Now it's our recap. What we're talking about in between, you guys got to figure that out for yourselves. We cannot do all the work for you people. You people have to do a little something for yourselves.
Hey, that's right. We're talking about writing, so use your imagination.
Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm Dan Johnson, and I have not got a right tail in my head. So, we were talking about writing, we were talking about comics, and I think we were talking about Empire Comics Lab, which is one of the companies that I'm associated with as a editor and head writer. I do Cemetery Plots, which is, if you're familiar with like the old EC comic books or the Creepy and Eerie magazines, we're along those veins. We're a black and white horror publication. We have different writers, different artists that work for us. My associate Will has lettered some stories for us, including one of my stories was in the second issue.
Absolutely, and I've learned a little bit in action. One story in Action Anthology as well by Empire.
Yes. Action Anthology is our sister publication. It's more like superhero and action comics. But we're mainly just a ragtag group of writers and artists that got together who we were joined together because we wanted to do comic books. We wanted to create comics, and we have a love for it.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's just it. We were actually challenged by a good friend of ours to make comics. He was like, you guys are always talking about wanting to make comic books, and you guys always are talking about how if you just had a shot, it's like, why don't you make your own opportunities? Why don't you go out there and make something for yourself? And that's how Empire Comics Lab got started. And, Cemetery Plots was our first publication, and that was actually a suggestion I had made. I said, why don't we do a horror anthology? Because horror always sells, and we were looking for something to do cheap, and we thought black and white would be best. And the great thing about horror is black and white lends itself to the horror genre more than just about any of the other stuff.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Like, yeah, as you go back to the classics, like with Long and Cheney, or like the old ones like Nosferatu and all that. Like, if you can evoke that kind of tone, I feel like that, or like Vincent. Well, I think I saw a post you made on was it Vincent Price the other day on Facebook, I think.
Oh yeah, love Vincent Price. Was one thing my schedule doesn't allow me to watch a lot of television these days, but when I do, Saturday night is usually Swinguli. That's the one night I unplug the phone, unplug the computer, and I just kick back with the classic monster movies.
Nice.
And Vincent Price is definitely one of my favorites. He is one of the actors that I grew up as a kid and was like a hero.
Yeah, I just think of, I believe I saw him in some of the older movies before I ever saw Edward Scissorhands. And I finally saw that. Like, I've seen The Fly, the old classic The Fly.
Yeah.
That would make a good comic book. You guys could do a riff on The Fly.
I'm glad Price. I'm a huge Tim Burton fan. Burton, I think has made some of the best. He's made some of the best movies, and he's also made some of the worst remakes of all time. I think if he's going to make something, he needs to make something original. Stay away from the remakes. But I bless him because of the fact that he helped make people aware of who Vincent Price was through Edward Scissorhands.
Hmm.
And also with Ed Wood, people began to understand who Bela Lugosi was and have a bigger respect for him, I think.
I need to see that movie. I still haven't. I've heard about it over the years. Like I think it was like in interviews with Johnny Depp and such, but have not caught that one yet. I've
It
heard good
is
things.
it is amazing. Martin Landau is Bela Lugosi is fantastic, and Bill Murray is great in it too. I mean, anything with Bill Murray is pretty awesome too.
Have you seen that, Will?
Seen this.
Ah, hey, well, there we go. There's an episode idea. We need to watch Ed Wood and do a review.
Yeah,
Ed Wood. That's
Uh-huh.
a movie.
Yeah, it's the name of the movie. Yeah, he was what was it? A kind of a B movie producer in
it
back
has
in Hollywood in the day.
Ed Wood has the distinction of being one of the worst movie directors of all time. And in all honesty, I don't. If you look at some of the stuff he's done, it's not as bad as a lot of people say it is. I mean, I've seen worse directors. The problem was he didn't have any money. He was making things on a shoestring budget. I always tell people if you want to see bad, look at like Manos Hand Debate. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever seen that one or not.
I have not. I have not.
Make double check it if you watch it because it has been confused for like a snuff film several times.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is. It looks terrible. It's one of these films that was made, as I understand it, the producer did it to win a bet that he could produce a film. Bet didn't say he had to make a good film, just that he had to make a film. And it's a mishmash of just it's like amateur hour. People, actors, directors, writers, and it's a mess. And Mystery Science Theater rescued it from obscurity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they brought that back on, was it Netflix? Mystery Science Theater. I think it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 3000. I love that.
Yeah, 3000. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan.
I like the original series a little bit better. The new one's all right, but the new one. It kind of reminds me. It's like when the hip kids in school are like, "Hey, we like this thing. We're gonna come to your comic book shop because comic books are cool and Magic the Gathering's awesome. We're gonna be the hip kids out there." And it's like we didn't invite the hip kids, man. We like it when it's our own little nerdy corner of the world.
I haven't seen the new one. I know about it, but
I like that Joel Hodgins is back, but it's too slick and too Hollywood. I think it looks too good, and that was half the charm of the original series. I mean, it was made out in Minnesota, out of a warehouse, and it's like Mike Nelson described it it's a cow and puppet show basically. So, but
I like that. I like that shtick of like having like the little side commentators like as the movie's playing. Like,
yeah,
so many other people have copied it and done riffs on it. Like I think of Lion King 1.5. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
yeah,
They did that. Of course, it makes me think of oh dang it, what's the two old guys on the Muppet Show? What's their name?
Statler and Wardorf.
Warburg, Waldorf.
Yeah.
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite memes. It's them in the box with Mystery Science Theater guys down in the audience looking at them. It's like,
oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah.
They'll let anybody in the theater these days. They let us in. Oh, no.
The only thing about it is the guys who do Mystery Science Theater, they are really good at it. I've seen a lot of folks who have tried doing that, and making fun of the movies. It's an art form in itself. I mean, it's not as easy as a lot of people seem to think it is.
Yeah, because you want to, in some ways, you want to enhance the experience. You don't want to take away from it. So it's like,
right. And one of the things I liked about Mystery Science Theater is there's a lot of jokes that I saw in college, and it took me a while to get them. When it took multiple screenings to realize, okay, now I know what they're talking about. And that's funny on a whole different level.
nice.
So.
Like Toy Story.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, they went there. Wow, that went over my head as a kid.
Yeah. You've heard the theory about Story 2, right?
I don't know. Maybe.
What? Was it Jessie, the cowgirl doll?
Uh-huh.
There's a theory that her owner was Andy's mom.
Okay. Yeah, I've not heard that theory.
Yeah.
The song always makes me sad though.
It
It's
does.
like hauntingly
All the Toy
beautiful.
Story movies are, especially number three. Number three was such a sad film, and then
Yeah, yeah, it was very bittersweet ending
yeah,
for sure.
And then there was number 4.
yeah.
Yeah, that was good actually. I like that. My kids love it. They've seen all 4 of them now.
I'm just
I
making sure we're not confusing 3 and 4.
No, I liked both of those. Like 3 is definitely basically a parody of The Great Escape.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you've seen that, Will, but it's a old classic 60s movie that had a bunch of stars in it, like a bunch of big actors at the time.
Oh yeah.
I saw the Escape film with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. not quite the right one.
Oh man, we should do a review of Predator someday. That would be fun. Do some like sci-fi horror type stuff. Sort of. I guess it's sort of horror, sci-fi action, I guess. But yeah,
I classify it as a sci-fi horror. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's true. It is pretty gruesome. So yeah, I think that fits. When you've got was it filleted corpses hanging in the trees? Like that's pretty horror-esque.
You guys need to do the trilogy. You need to do Rocky IV, Predator, and Happy Gilmore. It's all the films where Carl Weathers has
Yes.
Carl Weathers has lost a life or lost a limb to somebody in the film.
And then you got to catch him in The Mandalorian after that.
Oh, definitely. How much time you got? We talk about Mandalorian because that is.
Oh man,
that is the thing that I always tell people were talking about. I bitched about Star Wars 4 was popular. I was writing about Return of the Jedi back when it first came out. I was like, okay, you build a second Death Star, and the plot is you got to destroy the Death Star again. Really, and you're using teddy bears to fight the Empire. Really. No, I was a trendsetter. I was bitching about it back in '83 when nobody else was. But Mandalorian, that's the thing that saved my love of Star Wars. That was the one that brought me back to the tribe and said,
Right.
"Yeah, this is the magic of this universe."
Yeah, it was really good. John Favreau and his crew did an awesome job with that. And, I haven't heard if they're doing season 3. Are they doing a season 3?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
The mouse needs money, so they're definitely making on season 3.
Oh man. What is
Come
it?
on, we need a cow. Come on.
So you still got that?
You can sleep later. We need the show. Come on, speed it up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry,
I actually interrupted you.
You put me on a camera, man. I'm going to talk. I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk.
Hey, Mick.
I was just gonna pick on you, Dan. Ask if you still had that Grogu doll you dress up.
Grogu, yeah, I've got him. I've still got Grogu.
Called him.
So one of the companies we did, Golden Kid, a very good friend of mine, actually made us some Golden Kid gear, and
cool.
She made us a Golden Kid T-shirt and hat for the little Grogu action figure that I've got. So,
nice.
We were talking again. This is for COVID. We were talking about taking him out to conventions because, you put Baby Yoda out. People love Baby Yoda. There's no. It's just he's like a magnet.
What is Yoda's race, by the way? I'm trying to remember if that was ever spoken, like the name of his race.
They've never said. That's. I heard Lucas saying something about he never wanted to have other beings from Yoda's race. Of course, you got Yaddle in the prequels, so you did see another Yoda being. You're not quite sure if that's like their love child or what.
I don't know. Maybe.
Could be. Maybe they'll reveal that in season 3.
Maybe it's very possible.
Well,
I'm just sorry that. No, I was going to say I'm just sorry that Gilbert Godfrey passed away because I thought he'd be the perfect voice for Grogu. Actually.
Oh man, where are we going?
Hey, Mando, can we get some food back here? Come on, I need a prop.
This sounds like a bad lip sync Star Wars video that would skyrocket.
Oh man, I love those. Especially I love the music videos too. Like, have you seen all those, Dan? Like,
bad lip reading, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, the one with Yoda I think is probably the best. Like,
did you ever see the one they did for Game of Thrones?
yeah, the was it Medieval Fun Time Land or something?
Yeah. Actually, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I didn't have HBO when it first came out, and I want to see that movie before I see Game of Thrones. I want to see that film. I want to see it as like an '80s teen comedy film.
There you go. Oh yeah, the actual, like, if someone actually made Medieval Fun Time Land, yeah, that would be.
I think it'd be great, man. You get most of the guys from Revenge of the Nerds. You get Booger in there as like a ticket taker or something. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, my wife and I have quoted that one a number of times. Like, I think the two phrases that get a lot of mileage in our house is "stank booty." I didn't know you had stank booty.
Yeah.
And the other is psych.
Oh man, it is one of those shows I need to sit down and watch because everybody talks about how great it was except for the last season. But
yeah, I've seen parts of the first two seasons. Like, it's definitely depressing. So I probably don't recommend binging it.
Yeah.
you might be like stuck in your house for the next week. You're like, oh, everyone dies.
That's what I've heard. I've heard don't get attached to characters because they will get killed off. And I know they've got Aquaman, they got Mando, they got Iron Fist. It seems like everybody was in that thing.
Oh really? I didn't know Pedro Pascal was in there. That's cool.
I think it was. Yeah. I've seen the meme about wearing the helmet or something like that. So.
I'll have to look that up. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, as long as it went on, like, I'm sure they had a number of guest stars or other big things now, or like well, obviously one of the Starks is like, she's like Jean Grey now in the X-Men movies or whatever.
Yeah,
I think she was Stark. Well,
then
I guess technically she's dead now, right? Because the last one, didn't she die? The Dark Phoenix one.
No,
I haven't seen that one.
Trying to remember.
No, she survives in the end. If you look in the sky, spoiler.
That's okay.
Flies overhead.
They just killed Mystique, which screwed with the timeline.
Yeah.
Like wait, Ian McKellen doesn't have his girlfriend now. Like, where did she come from? Oh, Will, I'm doing your thing, Will.
Xavier, Patrick Stewart, or Ian McKellen. These timelines are so confusing.
Well, Dan, I haven't gotten the 10-minute warning here, so I'm not sure exactly how long we've been recording, but I suppose because the next segment you're talking about the difference between gratuitous and necessary, we should at least mention it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, I think we were talking about comics and a need for more kid-oriented comic books.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, did we talk about your literacy work in that segment too? I was trying to remember. Or was that?
I know we touched on it. I can go over it again if you like.
Yeah, like I'm trying to remember if it was in the third segment that we got more into that. It's been lost to the ether.
Did you rewatch the first segment to know what he talked about and didn't talk about?
Yeah, I know we did not talk about the literacy work that you've done in the first segment, but I've not yet rewatched the third segment, so I'm not totally sure.
Okay.
But definitely I watched it to see how it began, so to get an idea of the transition at least.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't mind talking about it again because I think it's very important. It's one of the things I think that's hurting the comic industry now is that the industry isn't looking to get new readers. I think it's a big problem. I know they have Free Comic Book Day, which is great, but they need to be more active. That's just one day out of 365.
I think they're doing free Halloween comics now.
Yeah, they are. But it's just they need to have. I mean, DC has like the Looney Tunes comics, I think, is bi-monthly, and the Scooby Doo comics, which I have to admit are really quite good. The Scooby Doo comics, the ones they've done, have been like very kid-friendly versions of the superheroes. And the Batman one they did, where they had them teaming up with Batman at different times, was really really good too. Um, I know they were pushing the young adult novels at one time, and I just thought those things looked like a mess. The Gotham High with it was written by one of the young adult writers.
You
Who
don't want to see a
apparently,
love triangle with Batman and Joker?
well, it was supposed to be they cast Bruce Wayne as Crazy Rich Asians had come out, so they had Bruce Wayne as a Asian rich kid, Selena Kyle as a Latina bad girl, and Joker as the class clown, literally. And it was like a love triangle thing going on, and it's one of the worst ideas. Is this whole thing about no? It's one of these bad ideas where it's like we want the prequel. It's like we want to see these characters before they became Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah.
It's like, do you really? Do you really want that? I mean, we got Gotham, and Gotham worked okay. Smallville did okay too, but it's like if you're lucky, Smallville I thought was like 90% CW teen drama, and the 10% when they got the Superman mythos right,
Yeah,
they
that's
nailed it. They nailed it.
You
But
are,
I don't
you
think
are a big fan of that,
How many
Richard.
people want to see that kind of stuff? They want to see these characters in action. They want to see them in costumes. They want to see them as they know them. And sometimes backstories aren't necessarily a good thing. Sometimes a little mystery is a good thing to have. I mean, we don't know about we don't need to know about how Bruce Wayne and Jack Napier were classmates for like 4 years and only became rivals at the very end. It's like,
Yeah.
Batman still doesn't know who he is.
Who are you?
There's 3 Jokers.
who are you?
Oh, it's like
That's
Yeah,
not the right answer.
I'm surprised they didn't have Harley in there. You know, he's like just see Jack walking down the hall. And he's like, Harley.
I don't know. Did it get canceled? If it didn't get canceled, they eventually get her in there.
Well, the book.
She's
the book
got her
is-
own series now. I've only caught bits and pieces of it. I don't know if you guys have caught much of it on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's actually very funny.
Oh, the Harley Quinn series?
Yeah, it's one of I'm not a purist to the point where I'm like, well, you can't do R-rated superheroes. That's wrong. You can't do a dirty version of Batman or Superman. You can if you know it's a parody, if you know it's a joke, and I think that's one of the shows that actually works because it's very funny. I love the oh god, was it the Dr. Psycho character? It's like the guy terrorizes downtown. He's killing civilians, but he calls Wonder Woman the C word and he gets canceled.
Oh,
And I'm just like, okay, so that's the line. It's like we got Lex Luthor talking about, we believe in evil, Psycho. We believe in advocating darkness and evil, but there's certain lines we just don't cross. And this PC era, we just can't have you saying things like that to women. It's like, no, it's wrong. And I'm busting a gut going, oh my God, they get it. They get just how ridiculous PC culture can be sometimes. It's like, I'm more concerned about him like killing people than saying a word he shouldn't say. I mean, both are wrong, but it's like one's here, one's up there.
yeah. I
think killing civilians is up there.
think having just like I went for several years, like after getting married, several years of like not because I was necessarily trying to purposely. I just was off of social media. I wasn't really doing anything on it. Then only in the last year or two started getting back in and just seeing a lot of that and like when it sometimes it's the like when it gets kind of twisted in with the social justice stuff, it takes on this new life that it can just get really nasty sometimes. And I think some of it is like I've noticed, like, not to bash younger people or anything, but I've just noticed, like, when when you're in your early 20s, like most of us, like we're looking for a cause, we're looking for something important to latch onto. But if you've been living a lot of your life online, from like age 10, 11 for the last 10 years, it's like you live in that space. So that's like, well, how to describe it, like, um but I'd wager, like, given just how human bodies interact in person most of the time, like they probably wouldn't say a lot of the same things, adults too, but like, if you were hanging out with people in person, or even like this where you're seeing someone face to face, it's just different. It's different. But
The, the threat of not getting punched out for saying something is giving a lot of people a little bit of false bravado, I think.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I thought of that too. Is like, if I wasn't willing to say this in front of someone who could potentially fight me for it, then why am I saying it online?
Yeah. No,
Just look behind your computer screen.
the way I was raised, I was always taught that your words have consequences, and that's why I was always told, don't talk about people behind their back, don't say anything about them. And if you're going to address something, choose your words wisely. There's a difference. There's a difference between me coming to you and saying, look, I think what you said and what you did was wrong. I think you need to take a step back. Me coming up and saying, what the hell were you blankety blank thinking right there, you stupid blankety blank, blankety blank, blankety blank. One's going to get you punched. One will get you calmed down a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the big things that worries me sometimes, is that there isn't. It's like, okay, I'm a hermit by nature. I like being on my own. I like being by myself. But at the same time, too, I understand the need for human interaction. I think there is a need more for that. I think it's great. We can do an interview like this online, and it's wonderful. But there isn't anything quite like human interaction. I think we need more of that sometimes.
No, I absolutely agree. Like, I'm trying to, like, speaking for myself, just because I realize, like, I see the direction that society is going. And I know, like, we're not really going to be able to do business without being attached, at least in some way, to social media, to the internet. Like, you have to be connected at some level, because it's such an integral part of how society operates now. But I also see this, in a sense, a counter or a cultural response to that, where there's an emphasis on connecting in person more, and like doing like Meetup is a cool example. It's like a fusion of those two, where it's an online tool, but it helps to facilitate people hanging out in person, and scheduling things to hang out in person.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think there's a balance you can find, I guess, with the two. And I'm trying to find that sweet spot, and it's tough sometimes, because I get on that Instagram feed and it's just like, and I catch myself. I'm like, oh, dang it. I even watched The Social Dilemma, so I know what's happening right now, but I'm still doing it.
Well, the thing is, too, I think it's easy to write off people and say, well, look, you voted for this guy or you voted for that person, and you believe this and I believe that. And you know what? I'm just going to cut you out of my life. I mean, I've had friends that have blocked me on Facebook because they perceived what my political beliefs were. And I'm like, you don't know what my political beliefs are. You don't know what I believe. I don't share them that much on Facebook. I try to have like a safe zone online. It's like, you come to my page, it's goofy, fun, geeky stuff. But if I do share my political opinions with you, it's obviously because I trust you, and I just ask you to respect my opinion in the same way I respect yours. There are people out there I don't agree with. There are people out there that have political views that I think are totally skewed and wrong. But this is a free society, and that comes with having to respect the other guy's personal opinion.
Yeah, that's very true. I was listening to a podcast earlier today talking about, from kind of more from a legal perspective, like free speech and the First Amendment, and how how that's being applied legally right now, like in the realm of social media, and how the government is interacting with social media companies, and like we're kind of writing the future in a sense right now, like figuring out how we're going to regulate this going forward, how we're going to treat it. And it's kind of, I mean, it's unique in a lot of ways, like um so just, but yeah, it's we need to have those discussions. So it's like,
We do. And I've got some friends of mine that like with the Twitter debate, they're talking about who should have a voice on Twitter and who shouldn't.
Mm.
And I hate to say it, but there are some people out there sometimes that I notice them. They'll sometimes be very much, yeah, we need to do this. We need to pull the trigger on this, and we need to make this happen now because we need to shut those guys up. And the problem is they don't understand that the pendulum swings,
yeah.
and there's going to come a day when they're going to be those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the problem is that when you put laws and regulations into place, they don't understand that these things don't magically vanish when your guy is in power. They're going to be, I mean, getting rid of laws and regulations that the government passes that gives them power, and getting rid of positions that are made by the government is like near impossible. They're going to be there forever. They're going to be like a rash on grass. They're going to be there, and you're not going to get rid of them.
Typically,
and eventually, it's going to get to a point where your guy is no longer in power anymore, and you're going to have to deal with the consequences when someone else has them.
yeah.
So.
No, it's very true. Yeah, I think even politicians can be guilty of that sometimes, of not looking at the big picture. They're just thinking about, what do I need to do to get elected next cycle, kind of thing sometimes. And short-term thinking, it's regardless of what your party is, it's not a good thing.
I'm a firm believer. I went with what the founding fathers used to have. They never saw themselves as senators or governors or mayors. They saw themselves, I'm the town blacksmith, or I'm the town silversmith. I just have to serve politics once in my lifetime, and I go back to my regular job.
Yeah. Yeah, it would
I'm
be nice
also
if
one
we
of
could
these
go
people
back
that
to that.
says, I'm also one of these guys that says, get the nearest phone book if you can find a phone book these days. Start calling people up saying, you want to be president? First one that says, no, I couldn't do that. You got the job because you know what? You don't think you could do it right. You probably do it better than a lot of folks who have had the position. So.
Well, we're coming up. There is a timer now. We got about 2.5 minutes left.
Wow.
I didn't mean to get political there, guys.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. Like we have sold this like it's okay with like serious stuff. It's okay if it comes up organically, like in the show. Like, yeah, we kind of similar to what you were saying with your Facebook page. We do want, I think, this podcast to kind of be like a haven of like entertainment, and not too uber serious. Like I know I can. Go ahead, Will.
Is this a much different interview than the footage we lost last night?
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I guess maybe in the last minute and a half we can jump into the gratuitous necessary thing. so that there's actually somewhat of a trend, artificial though it may be at this point. Transitions, like
jump in and put us back on comics and try to fill in all the stuff we lost from last night. But I was like, well, this is organic. We're having fun. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like, that just with the gratuitous thing, like, how would you say you walk the line with that, Dan, with the horror comics that you work on?
I figure my way of looking at it this way, I'm proud of the fact that I write stories for kids, and I'm proud I write stories that adults can enjoy. It's knowing your audience. It's knowing who the story is going to be intended for. There's stuff that I would never write in a kid's comic book, and there's a lot of stuff I would never use in a horror comic unless I thought it was absolutely positively necessary for the story. I will say that as far as like what's considered politically correct, I figure two genres that should never be off limits should be horror and comedy. Because like I said, I mean, the stuff out there is going to scare the hell out of you isn't always going to be politically correct at times.
Yeah, and same with comedy. We need the court jesters out there.
Yeah. But the main thing is just know who your audience is, know who you're writing for, and just let your conscience be your guide. Know what's too much. And if you think it is too much, ask people to take a look at it, get their opinions on it. And if enough people say you should cut this, then cut it.
I think that's a good.
Joker here, bringing April cheer. Today's podcast is brought to you by Joker's Laughing Fish. Come on, you've got to try one. They're to die for.
All right, we're back. So Dan's gonna continue his thought from the previous segment here.
Well, as I pointed out to several people before, like I said, Roland Mann's one I really when I talked to him, it really all came together. It's difference between what's considered gratuitous and what's considered necessary for a story. What I did was I told him about my favorite G-rated film of all time. Will may have heard this already.
I have, but I forgot.
Okay. Well, it is a G-rated movie, and it contains at least 2 scenes of rear male nudity.
Oh, I think I know what this is.
It also contains a scene of characters being shot on screen, blood included. There is a scene of several dead humans piled up like cordwood.
Mm.
There's a scene with a character that's been lobotomized.
Oh, maybe I don't know what this is.
There's a scene with a character that was killed and stuffed and mounted like a trophy.
Ooh.
There is also a scene where the main character is threatened with emasculation not once but twice, and also threatened with vivisection. And the grand topper of it is that the Lord's name is taken in vain in the very last scene.
Mm.
And it's a G-rated movie.
That wouldn't be something connected to Looney Tunes, was it?
What?
No, I know. Actually, it's not. It's not.
I have this memory of a G-rated movie that had a bunch of cursing in it. It was about Christopher Columbus. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that's the one.
Actually, it's the original Planet of the Apes.
Okay, that was my first thought.
Right.
Then you mentioned lobotomy, and I was like, wait, I don't remember a lobotomy scene. But yeah, when you mentioned the rear male nudity, I was like, oh yeah, Planet of the Apes had that. Yeah, I was watching it, and all of a sudden you see Charlton Heston running across buck naked.
Yeah. Well, it's a scene where they're looking for one of the other astronauts that landed with Taylor, and he realizes that he's been lobotomized.
Oh.
The thing about it is that that's one of those films that you mention it to people, and they're like, I don't remember the nudity, or I don't remember the violence, or I don't remember all that. And it's all because every element in that story was necessary to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
You could not have told Planet of the Apes without. Well, we probably didn't see Charlton Heston's ass, but looking for a lady. But for some of the guys too. I don't judge. It's okay. But I remember Heston fighting for the GD at the end of the film. When he has a line about you blew it up, you blew it up, you maniacs.
Maniacs.
And he actually fought for the line. He went to the studio and said he's not saying goddamn as a swear. He's literally asking God to damn humanity for its stupidity and for what it did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's contextual.
That's the whole thing. And this is back in the day when the rating system was actually set up to be. It wasn't just, well, you got so many, naked women or so many curse words, and you got gunshot and everything. It's like they actually looked at it and said, okay, we're going to pass it as a G because it's necessary for the story. You cannot tell the story without those elements there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is with comics. It should be. You can't tell the story of Spider-Man without Uncle Ben being killed.
Yeah.
Spoiler for anybody out there who's just coming into it. Uncle Ben, guys, I'm sorry.
If you haven't paid attention to Spider-Man for the last 60 years, sorry.
Think about it. I mean, one of the greatest superhero comics of all time, Superman. It starts with the destruction of an entire planet.
True.
Batman. You don't get Batman without Bruce Wayne's parents being murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And again, those are elements that are absolutely necessary. Watchmen. You can't tell Watchmen without the violence or some of the sex.
We can tell without Blue Man Group swinging in the wind.
Yeah, maybe
Why do you
without
keep doing Wonder
maybe
Man?
without Mr. Manhattan's
Sorry.
appendage.
Dr. Manhattan and his Blue Electric Wing. Yes. I want to start a band just so I can call it Dr. Manhattan's Blue Electric Wing.
Oh, that'd be great. You should get Billy Crudup to come and play Dr. Manhattan just for the music video.
Well, I had a former friend of mine that actually got uncomfortable with that, and I'm like, does an Electric Blue Wing?
Oh man, well tell him not to watch the HBO Max sequel series. Then there's a little bit more Wang in that one.
Well, the thing is, he's like, what's it necessary? It's like, why's he got to walk around naked? And I said, well, I asked him, I said, have you ever gotten out of the shower and saw a cockroach? And he says, yeah. Did you cover yourself up? He says, no. Why? Because it's a cockroach. And it's like, that's how he looks at us. We're not significant enough to worry about.
That's a fair point.
We're not significant enough. That's the thing.
Yeah, and he's just on a whole nother level of consciousness too. He's like, what does nudity matter? Yeah. By the way, listeners, if you haven't seen the HBO Max series, I recommend it, but only for mature audiences. So
take your toddlers.
Yeah, no, but it's excellent. It's excellent.
Likewise, the movie is one of the best adaptations of a comic book story I've ever seen in my life. I think it's really well done, and it's the best version we could have gotten. The only thing that would have been different was I was kind of hoping at the time they would have done more. I wish it had been made at a time when they were like taking books and like splitting up into 3 movies, because it really deserved to be a 3-part film. You just can't get everything in like 2 hours. But,
that's interesting. Like, yeah, I've heard a lot of people rag on it, but like I've read the graphic novel, and I thought it was pretty faithful to the graphic novel from what I could tell. Like, yeah. Like,
and Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach. That's like one of the best characters ever. I mean, he nailed that character so perfectly.
Yeah, he's intense. Like almost anything he's in, which I've only seen him in a couple of things, but like, yeah, he plays very like broken characters. That's kind of his thing.
That actually started with Bad News Bears.
Okay.
Believe it or not, Jackie Earle Haley is in the original Bad News Bears.
Okay.
If you ever get a chance to, he actually did an episode of Shazam, the old Captain Marvel series from the 70s. He actually made a guest star appearance on that.
Interesting. They did a voice for that, no?
Actually, it was a live action show.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it.
It's on Tubi. You can watch it for free. I highly recommend it.
Ooh, okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I guess
wasn't important. I think that the guy who played Billy Batts or something recently came to a con, but I don't know if that was one in our state that you attended. I don't know. I saw it.
Oh, I got interviewed. I got a chance to interview him and John Davies.
That's right.
Captain Marvel. Yeah,
that's right.
Nice.
Super nice guys. You cannot ask for 2 better guys. They are just the best.
And that's how I knew that show existed, because I didn't even know that there was a live action Captain Marvel Shazam show until you got to interview.
Well, I was on like 4 or 5 when it came on the air, so it's an old one.
Oh, that's cool. Is that interview in print or is it up on
online? You can actually
online,
find it online. Yeah,
nice.
It's on YouTube under Phoenix Sisters YouTube page.
Okay. So you were like a guest interviewer for the Phoenix Sisters, or is that actually your page?
Well, actually, what it was, a friend of mine, we did a virtual con when COVID first hit, because we were a little disappointed that a lot of cons had to be shut down, including Superman Days Metropolis. And we thought, well, a virtual con would be great because it's an opportunity to kind of have a little bit of fandom online. And we started looking for guests. And I had been Facebook friends with John Davey for a while. And through him, I met Michael and Joanna Pang, who was on the ISIS TV series. And again, these are like 3 of the nicest people you could ever want to meet. They're just super, super cool people.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Well, Dan, we're gonna close up here pretty shortly.
Okay.
Is there anything you wanna plug or promote here in the last couple of minutes, like website, podcast, YouTube channel, anything like that?
Well, I was going to say, if you guys want to check me out on Facebook, there's Cemetery Plots page. I'm not updating as much as I should, I admit. But hopefully we'll have some announcements there about Cemetery Plots number 4 soon. There's also the Red Line Comic Studio Facebook page where we announce all the different projects that we're working on for Red Line, as well as some independent projects that I'm doing. We do have our first story that we sold, like I said, the Anarch Press. It's going to be in Planet Comics number 10. In fact, I think you can still order copies of it. It's going to be released the end of August, the last week of August. And outside of that, there is my first short story that was just published from Moonstone Publishing, first sold short story.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's the lead story in Domino Patrick, Daughter of the Domino Lady. It's the lead story in there, and that's just becoming available now. So you can order that through Moonstone Books.
Okay. Nice. Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Bill, is there anything you want to say as we close out here?
I could keep
Caught him
this
off
going
guard.
for another 20 minutes. No, I guess not. I was really glad to have you on, Dan. He's definitely a very good friend of mine, a bro, and he's awesome and amazing. I can't wait to see you again. We've been talking about meeting up, but we hadn't made solid plans, so I hope so. We can do that in the future. I still have your Christmas gift from 2019.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. COVID threw everybody for a loop. COVID just threw everybody for a loop as far as having to cancel conventions, not getting together and such. And then, like I said, I started pushing for more projects because I needed something to keep myself busy, and things just kind of exploded. And
Nice.
the one thing I learned during COVID is people need and want entertainment. So.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely so.
The Great Depression, comics boom.
Yeah.
Hey man, yeah, a lot of stuff got started. Like even some celebrities got into the podcasting realm, for instance, like Jason Bateman, and Jason Bateman and some of his friends like started a podcast during the pandemic. You know, there's other people.
Sorry.
So yeah, it was like a boon for creativity in a lot of ways, it seems.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is now, especially with indie comics, is there's so many outlets out there. I mean, you don't have to go to a publisher anymore. There's a lot of stuff out there you can do by yourself. Yeah,
you just put it straight on Amazon, right? A lot of it.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, there's that, or if you do a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, there's so many outlets out there. The main thing is just the best advice I can give to anybody is tell the stories you want to tell.
Yeah.
Tell what's personal to you. If you're the main audience initially and you entertain yourself, then you've accomplished what every creator should set out to do. Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, the cherry on the cake is when someone else discovers it and loves it too.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. Well, with that, Dan, I guess we'll say goodnight and thanks again.
Oh, my pleasure.
Night, bro.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime and talk about a different topic. So
we still got to talk about manga and anime.
Yeah. That would be great. That'd be great. We'll have to put that on the calendar, right?
I want to talk about why the Japanese are eating our lunch and why we deserve to starve, because we've done it to ourselves.
Oh, all right.
And who are Dan's top favorite 5 wife foods? Tune in next time.
There you go.
Number 4 will surprise you.
I bet.
All right.
Anyway, guys, again, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much. It's been an honor. Will, say hey to Mandy for me.
I will.
Bro, like I said, we're gonna do lunch soon. I promise.
That'd be great, man.
Bring Richard along. We'll introduce him to Pioneer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I could have mentioned Pioneer, but I didn't want people in the world to know our haunt. I'm kidding. We don't really haunt it.
Well, they don't know where it's located at, so.
I mean, they might rate it, and want to get your autographs, or our autograph. Like, you're the irreverent nerds. You're Dan. No. Anyway, well, thanks, Dan. Until we meet again.
I was gonna say, if you go into Pioneer and you ask for him, they'll be like, "Yeah, his fat ass is over there. He's the one that's eating too much of the damn bacon. Over there and get it."
Yep. I want Pioneer.
I don't know if you've gotten this episode in Parks and Rec yet, but Ron Swanson's famous, like, I want all the bacon and eggs you have. No, son, I don't think you heard me. I want all the bacon and eggs you have.
This place has the best Southern breakfast buffet you will find.
Nice.
And the great thing about it is, can I plug my favorite comic book shop?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And no, guys, no offense to anyone else hearing this, I apologize about this. You got to understand, this is my shop for the longest time. It's no offense to you guys. It's just this is my shop. God rest his soul. Mark Merrill, the guy who ran the shop, passed away last year. His son Kevin's running it now. It's Stormcrow Comics in Archdale. Yeah. It's one of the best shops in the area. Mark gave me the best deals on comics. Plus, you ever gone into a comic book shop and you realize you were fated to be there? I go in and I fill out a pull sheet. Mark looked at it and he said, "You're born on March 15th, right?" "Yeah, 1970. Yeah." And it says, "Why?" He said, "I want to know what time were you born?" The specific time, I think it was like in the AM. He said, "Okay, you're the old man," because I was born at like 7/7 something at that same day, the very same day, same year. We're just like 10 hours apart.
Nice.
Was that the father or the son?
Father, Mark, yeah. Like I said, he passed away unfortunately last year, but
unfortunately, I heard about it.
No, that's too bad.
That's the other sucky thing about COVID too, is there's so many friends that we lost, and
oh yeah,
that's one of the reasons I want to get back into cons and doing shop visits again, because like I said, there's just time. You never know what you got as far as time goes.
That's true. Yeah, gotta cherish every moment, right?
I'm leaving on something heavy. I didn't want to do that, so. But anyway, you guys have a great night, and thanks again, and we'll do it again.
All right, thanks, Dan.
See you guys. Bye.
All right, so, oops, that's not the right view.
We're still recording?
Yeah, we are still recording. I don't know how to.
Oh,
there we go. So, nerds, I hope you enjoyed.
I just
we're not muted. Okay. I muted him, but we hope you enjoyed our interview / conversation with Dan Johnson, longtime friend of Will's, prolific indie comic book writer and editor, and so yeah, like check out his website, follow him on Facebook, the whole 9 yards. Go visit that comic book shop in Archdale. Yeah. What was the name of it again?
Stormcrow.
I'd
go
Archdale.
there more often if I lived closer to Archdale.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. And obviously we plug our local comic book shops too, like Sailfish here in Winston, and then Burke Street Comics here in Winston. So yeah, guys, that's a wrap for today. This is a special episode. We're going to probably do interviews like this. We hope to do at least one a month, where we can have an interview with a local artist, a local writer, maybe comic book shop owner, or even
good too.
Even rep from a publishing company, things like that. Like we want to really highlight indie comics and indie comic creators, of whom Will is one, by the way, and he's got connections in that world, as does Dan. So hopefully we'll be able to bring this to you guys on a regular basis.
And because of Zoom, we could probably get some people not local too.
That's true. Yeah. So if you're out there in the ether and you'd like to be featured, send us a message. Like, we're on Instagram, of course, as you know, at irreverent_nerd. In fact, and we now got a Facebook fan page. So just look up the Irreverent Nerds on Facebook. That's our fan page. Just got up and running this past week.
Seen it. So
yeah, you need to check it out.
You should look it up like I am.
Yeah, and someday we'll probably have a website. Don't have that up and running just yet, but for now, like, we got our YouTube channel, and obviously our Instagram. The YouTube is just Irreverent Nerd. Look it up. It's a pretty distinctive name, so it should come up right off the bat as a channel to look at. And so weekly, like this episode, initially, like the video version will only go up on Spotify. But then next Tuesday, we'll release it on our YouTube channel as well, for those that want to check it out there. And for everybody else listening on like Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Reason.fm, wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, this is the audio version. So hopefully you still enjoyed it, even though you didn't get to catch the video until next Tuesday. But of course, obviously you can always go to Spotify if you really want to see our beautiful faces.
Spotify.
And anyway, next week, another friend of mine, Zach, is coming, and he's bringing possibly his brother, but definitely somebody who has as much appreciation for this as he does. He's going to come and talk with us about Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I look forward to that too.
Yeah, which something Will knows and loves as well.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is probably the anime that got me into Japanese anime and manga in the 90s.
Nice. I think that's probably true for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I love Akira Toriyama's cartoony style.
And I am a novice when it comes to Dragon Ball Z, so we'll probably do it something like, hey, I've never watched a full episode of this, so pitch it to me. Like, why should I watch Dragon Ball Z? And I'm sure they'll have no problem telling me why. But Zach's gonna come on, and we're gonna do like a little round table discussion about Dragon Ball Z. I guess I'll be sort of the host / questioner, outsider. I have a feeling the other three guys are gonna all be like, "Oh yeah, you remember that episode?" And I'll be like,
"You can be the every."
I'll be the everyman. That's right. I'll be the audience,
yes.
The audience representative or whatever. So anyway, that's coming next week, and but in the meantime, look for content on our Instagram page, and go check out our YouTube page, and look at our back catalog of issues, and check them out. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who has, whether you subscribed on our YouTube channel or followed us on Instagram or listened to our podcast. Thank you so much. It's so encouraging. We just have fun doing this, but it's also encouraging. Like, we put some work into this. So like, knowing that some people have listened and appreciated it, or, and let us know what you think. If you think we suck, let us know that too. Like, just, if you think there's some things we can do to improve, we're open to constructive criticism, and, up to a point, obviously, if you're like, oh, bleep, 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 bleep. Yeah, exactly. Constructive criticism.
Or deconstructive.
But anyway, you can go to our Anchor profile, anchor.fm/irreverent nerd. You can send us a message there, an audio message, which we can include in a future episode. I'll figure out some way to get it in there. You can also support us financially if you'd like to. We're not set up on Patreon, but this is sort of like Patreon. Like, it's through Stripe, and it's in connection with anchor.fm. So you can, yeah, that's right. And we're going to split it 50-50, obviously, because we're partners in this mess. No. But yeah, you can support us there. And obviously you can support us just by listening to this amazing podcast. Right. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Like, obviously, if you're hearing with us, you stuck with us through the whole episode. So thank you. And you'll hear from us again and / see us again next week. Peace, fellow nerds.